The Livonian War, 1558 to 1583, was a pivotal conflict in northern Europe, shaping the fate of the region and marking a significant chapter in the struggle for dominance among emerging powers. The war was fought primarily in the territories of present-day Estonia, Latvia, and parts of Russia and Lithuania. It involved several key players, including the Tsardom of Russia, the Kingdom of Sweden, the Kingdom of Poland, and the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, later united as the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and Denmark-Norway. At the heart of this conflict lay the strategically important region of Livonia, a territory of the Livonian Confederation, which consisted of various secular and ecclesiastical states, including the Livonian Order, a branch of the Teutonic Knights, and the bishoprics of Riga, Courland, and Osselwijk. The origins of the Livonian War can be traced back to the expansionist ambitions of Tsar Ivan IV of Russia, commonly known as Ivan the Terrible. After consolidating his power within Russia, Ivan sought to expand his influence westward, particularly aiming to secure access to the Baltic Sea. This would not only open up vital trade routes, but also establish Russia as a maritime power. The Livonian Confederation, weakened by internal strife and the decline of the Teutonic Order, became an attractive target for Ivan's ambitions. In January 1558, Ivan launched a military campaign against Livonia. The initial phase of the war saw Russian forces quickly overrunning several key Livonian strongholds, including Narva and Dorpat, modern-day Tartu. The rapid advance of Russian forces was facilitated by the disarray within the Livonian Confederation, which lacked a unified command and was ill-prepared to face such a formidable adversary. The Livonian Order, once a powerful military force, had been in decline, and the regional nobility was divided by conflicting loyalties and interests. As the Livonian Confederation crumbled under the Russian onslaught, the neighboring powers took notice. The Kingdom of Poland and the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, under the rule of Sigismund II Augustus, were particularly concerned about the growing Russian threat. The Livonian territories bordered the Lithuanian lands, and the fall of Livonia to Russia would leave the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth vulnerable. In 1561, the Livonian Order sought protection from the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth by ceding its territories and dissolving itself. The secularization of the order marked the formal end of the Livonian Confederation, and its territories were divided between Poland, Lithuania, and Sweden. Gotthard Kettler, the last master of the Livonian Order, became the Duke of Courland, a vassal of the Polish crown. The entry of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth into the war marked a new phase in the conflict. The Commonwealth sought to defend its new territories and push back against Russian advances. However, the war was not confined to a simple binary conflict between Russia and the Commonwealth. Sweden and Denmark-Norway also became involved, each seeking to expand their influence in the region. Sweden, under King Erik XIV, saw an opportunity to gain a foothold in Livonia, and in 1561, Swedish forces captured Reval, modern-day Tallinn, establishing a significant presence in northern Estonia. Denmark-Norway, ruled by Frederick, was also drawn into the conflict, motivated by both territorial ambitions and the desire to check Swedish power in the region. The involvement of multiple powers turned the Livonian War into a complex and protracted struggle, with shifting alliances and changing fortunes. The war was characterized by a series of sieges, battles, and skirmishes, with no single power able to secure a decisive victory. The harsh winters, difficult terrain, and the logistical challenges of maintaining large armies in the Baltic region further complicated the conflict. The war also took a heavy toll on the civilian population, with widespread destruction, famine, and disease ravaging the region. One of the notable features of the Livonian War was the extensive use of mercenaries by all sides. The Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, Sweden, and Denmark-Norway relied heavily on hired soldiers from Germany, the Netherlands, and Scotland, among other places. These mercenaries were often well-trained and experienced, but their loyalty was primarily to their paymasters rather than the cause they were fighting for. This reliance on mercenaries added to the instability of the conflict, as troops frequently switched sides or deserted when payments were delayed or conditions became too harsh. As the war dragged on, the internal politics of the warring states played a significant role in shaping its course. In Russia, Ivan the Terrible's increasingly erratic behavior and the brutal repression of his own people, particularly during the period known as the Oprichnina, weakened the state's ability to sustain the war effort. The Russian military successes of the early years of the war were gradually undone by internal strife and the exhaustion of resources. Meanwhile, in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, the Union of Poland and Lithuania was solidified by the Union of Lublin in 1569, which created a single state with a unified political system. This strengthened the Commonwealth's ability to conduct the war, although internal dissent and the growing influence of the nobility often hampered decision-making. The war also had a significant impact on the broader European context. The shifting alliances and the involvement of multiple powers in the Livonian War were part of the larger geopolitical struggles of the 16th century, which included the conflicts between Catholic and Protestant states in the wake of the Reformation, the rivalry between the Habsburgs and the Ottoman Empire, and the ongoing conflicts in Italy and France. The Baltic region, while often seen as a peripheral theater of war, was nevertheless a crucial battleground in the struggle for control of trade routes, access to resources, and influence over the emerging nation-states of Northern Europe. By the late 1570s, the Livonian War had reached a stalemate. None of the powers involved were able to achieve a decisive victory, and the human and material costs of the conflict were becoming increasingly unsustainable. The death of King Sigismund II Augustus in 1572 led to a period of political instability in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, known as the Interregnum, which further complicated the war effort. In Russia, the death of Ivan the Terrible in 1584 and the subsequent succession crisis marked the beginning of the time of troubles, a period of civil war and foreign intervention that would plague Russia for decades. The Livonian War finally came to an end with the signing of several treaties, most notably the Truce of Yamzopolsky in 1582 between Russia and the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and the Treaty of Plessa in 1583 between Russia and Sweden. Under the terms of these agreements, Russia was forced to cede its conquests in Livonia and relinquish its claims to the region. The war left Livonia divided between the Swedish and Polish-Lithuanian spheres of influence, with Sweden controlling northern Estonia and the Commonwealth gaining control of southern Livonia and Kurland. Denmark-Norway, although involved in the conflict, gained little territorial advantage and was forced to accept Swedish dominance in the region. The Livonian War had profound and lasting consequences for the Baltic region and the involved powers. For Russia, the war marked a significant setback in its westward expansion and highlighted the limitations of Ivan the Terrible's aggressive policies. The loss of Livonia and the internal turmoil that followed the war contributed to Russia's relative isolation from European affairs for several decades. For the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, the war solidified its control over much of Livonia, but the prolonged conflict also exposed the weaknesses of its political system, particularly the growing power of the nobility and the challenges of maintaining a unified state with diverse interests and identities. Sweden, on the other hand, emerged from the war as a significant power in the Baltic region, laying the groundwork for its later expansion under the Vasa dynasty. The war also weakened Denmark-Norway's position in Northern Europe, as it failed to achieve its territorial ambitions and had to contend with a more assertive Sweden. In conclusion, the Livonian War was a complex and multifaceted conflict that reshaped the political landscape of Northern Europe. It was a war driven by the ambitions of emerging powers, the struggles of declining states, and the broader geopolitical dynamics of the 16th century. The war's legacy can be seen in the subsequent history of the Baltic region, where the struggle for control of Livonia continued to play a central role in the conflicts of the 17th century and beyond. The Livonian War also serves as a reminder of the human cost of war, with the destruction of cities, the displacement of populations, and the suffering of countless individuals who were caught in the crossfire of great power politics.